The Big 12 experience, top non-conference games for each team in the Big 12 edition of the College Experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today using the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props with the picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome, everybody, to the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Tuesday, June the 11th, less than 3 months till Labor Day, opening weekend kickoff. We're talking Big 12 football, and we're also talking top games in the non-conference schedule, and it's loaded, so buckle up, everybody. But first, if you're wondering who you're listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And we're talking Big 12, so that means we're joined by a guy that's a walking contradiction. First, he was born in Provo, Utah. Go Cougs. He got family in Ames, Iowa. Go Cyclones, and he lives in Morgantown, West Virginia. Go Mountaineers. He's the co-host of the Ryan and Rush Show. He is Rambling Rush. Rush, what is up, man?
It's a perfect day for this episode. I don't know about you guys in your neck of the woods, but in Morgantown, it's been cold. Like yesterday, it's been like 60. Last night, it was 50 degrees. It started cooling down last night. I'm like, you know what? Right now would be a great time for a football game. So, hey, the Labor Day weekend can't come soon enough. Week 0, I guess the weekend before that can't come quick enough. I'm already ready for the season. Let's go.
No doubt. It'll be here before we know it. And actually, the Utes are playing on week 0, so we'll touch on them in a minute here. Rush's favorite team, but first, third man in the box. You guys know him as well. He's always fighting a family civil war in Stillwater. We don't talk about the other Oklahoma school anymore. Fort Worth, Waco. He's everywhere in the Big 12. He is the green mowing, weed growing Big 12 guru. Troy Tuning, what is up, man?
We got one last national championship out of Oklahoma softball and then told them to kick rocks.
Exactly. It is a shame that we didn't get any in the College World Series. I was hoping we'd at least push one. I was hoping it'd be the Mountaineers, but we're on to football. That's all that means. ACC.
Yeah, we'll just talk about football instead.
Exactly. And they can have Oklahoma and Texas, and they can underachieve. But Rush, you touched on it. Fired up for football. It's June 11th. August the 29th will be here before we know it. Thoughts on just the Big 12? I know we were texting back and forth, us three, on this Big 12 schedule in the non-con.
Yeah, it's well, now we're at 16 teams now. So, and part of it that we'll talk about is 2 of these Big 12 matchups aren't Big 12 matchups because I guess they were scheduled before, but they still want to play. And what's funny is one of them, with them being Arizona, Kansas State, I think that's week 3. That could be a potential Big 12 championship. So the fact that it's a non-con actually, I think, may end up benefiting at least the loser of that game. I was looking at it. I don't think Utah plays week 0, Ryan.
Sorry, I misspoke. I had Big 12 selected on that, so it filtered it out. I thought it said Saturday, August 24th. So I misspoke. Fake news on my part.
It's all right.
I tried to will them into week 0.
It's that time. It's that time of year when you can just start putting fake news out there for the sake of reactions.
It is an election year, so yeah.
I mean, the whole world's going to be looking at the Big 12, and it's not going to be by choice just because Colorado plays on that 29th right off the bat.
Yep.
On ESPN, and they might not even win that game. I mean, that'll be a hell of a game, I think. But Yeah, I mean, all eyes are going to be on Deion, whether you like it or not. So the Big 12 gets that bump right off the bat. Your mark's got to be, I mean, that's like getting a crack hit right away at the party. That's awesome. It's a good way to start it off. Like, just pop right in there.
And I think what's also cool is with gambling becoming just more and more popular, they got all the lines already out for week 1. So we could throw out some guess the lines game at the end as well for the chat, the audience. So make sure you guys throw in your comments, your thoughts on week 1, what game you're looking forward to the most in week 1. Week 1 bets you've already placed because you can
need Julio back.
Yeah, bring back Julio.
Bring back Julio. It's like Trump, who make Julio great again.
Make Julio great again. I'll tell you where else you should make great again, and that's over at the Daily Dog, because go check out our new daily podcast dedicated to giving away underdog picks. The Daily Dog, new 10-minute episodes dropping Monday through Friday. The Daily Dog, wherever you get your podcast today. Also, Circa announced they're giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes for Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Sign up today in Vegas and play from anywhere in the footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP to get $50 off. That's the footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP. All righty, we've talked about this enough. We've teased it enough. Let's start it off week 1. There is no week 0 games, even though I tried to crowbar Utah in there. Utah should have to play fucking week 0. Give them something else to fucking bitch about, because that's also all they've done since they've been
calling it week 0 is stupid, right?
Well,
like, just call it week 1 and call week 1 week 2. Like, why do we have to have a 0? When you start counting, you don't go like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You go 1 to 10.
Well, you know what's gonna happen is the NFL is gonna expand to another two weeks, another game. The season's going to start on week 1 of college football, and college football is going to start on week 0. So the week 0, in my opinion, is going to become week 1. I know, Rush, we talked about this at length. What's your thoughts on week 0?
I think week 0 should be, well, you are right. In terms of scheduling, week 1 will start a week earlier in college football because the NFL is going to be starting on Labor Day when they go to an 18-game schedule. They'll finish the Super Bowl right before President's Day. That's always been their dream schedule. I think the idea of week 0 should be, if you want to play an FCS opponent, that's when you do it. I think that's what it should mean. I did like the initial branding because college football always obviously started, and then kind of, what was it, about a decade ago, they started like, ooh, let's introduce the idea of week 0. And it is flashy. It's more for, obviously it's not for numeric purposes, Troy, as you know, it's to say week 0, it's for marketing, but they've kind of gone off of it, what they originally intended it to be. Now it's kind of a little bit of a cluster. I know they like to do that Dublin game, that international game during week 0, but I think the week 0, if you're going to roll with that, should be, all right, week 1 and on, play your conference games, your non-conference games. But if you want an FCS game, then you can elect to be in a week 0 game.
I agree. I like that thought. Let's run through these week 1 games real quick. So week 1 was a nightmare for the Big 12 last year, if you guys remember.
Jeez,
Baylor lost to Texas State. Fucking TCU lost to Colorado, who's now in the Big 12. And there was one more.
Wyoming beat Texas Tech.
Yes, yeah. Wyoming beat Texas Tech. The comeback game, the rain delay or thunderstorm, whatever it was. A lot of home games. Should be a chalky week. Should be a chalky week. But this is the Big 12, and whatever you expect to happen will not happen. Starts off with the bang Thursday night. UCF's holding New Hampshire. They'll probably win by 1,000. The game everybody's going to talk about is that Thursday night, 8 o'clock. The FCS powerhouse, North Dakota State Bison, going to Colorado, Deion, primetime. Also on that Thursday night, Lindenwood, the penitentiary baby, is going to Kansas. Jalen Daniels is going to single-handedly pad his Heisman stats in that game. Southern Utah in-state battle at the Utes. We go to Friday night next. This is going to be an interesting one. TCU, bounce back year, hopefully, what they're expecting. They're going to start at Stanford, so a road game to start. They're the only
ACC.
I know. They're the only Big 12 team on the road in week number 1 when I was researching it. Then we go to Saturday, the headliner, big noon kickoff, Penn State at our Mountaineers rush. We'll talk about that. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. That's a good FCS program. Towson at Cincinnati. North Dakota at Iowa State. Tarleton State at Baylor. Baylor, you better not fucking fuck up week 1 again with that. UNLV is at Houston, the game 1 of Willie Fritz era. And we got UT Martin at K-State, Abilene Christian at Texas Tech, Southern Illinois at BYU. And then you got 2 games in the late window. Rush, they're loading up your 10 o'clock Saturday night window. New Mexico goes to Arizona. Wyoming goes to Arizona State. And that's week 1. So I'll hand it to you, Rush. Thoughts on week 1? What pops your eye and what you're looking forward to the most?
You actually couldn't ask for a better week 1 to start off when you're just looking at a conference. I think the Thursday night game, everyone will obviously be talking about North Dakota State at Colorado. Looking forward to that game. I'm curious what the line is there because I'm already leaning towards at least taking North Dakota State in the points. I think the most underrated game this week is that TCU at Stanford game. Because the question into this year is TCU going to bounce back? A lot of us kind of put Sonny Dykes on the non-hot seat already to start the season, and we could see him not being at TCU again next year when we did our coaching rankings. That 10:30 Friday TCU at Stanford, I couldn't think of a better Friday 10:30 game right there. Of course, when you go to Saturday, everyone's been talking about it all off season. We'll have a lot to talk about, especially on the Ryan and Rush show. Penn State at West Virginia. Looking forward to that. I think Penn State, as they should be on upset alert, as any big team coming to Morgantown. Morgantown plays mind tricks on people. Towson at Cincinnati I think that game will be fine. North Dakota at Iowa State. I think that could be an interesting game as well. UNLV at Houston. I do not know what to expect from that game at all. I know Houston is really trying to rebound a lot this year and kind of get back to the way things could be, and they have the right guy to do it. But is this going to be that year 1 of just trying to figure it all out together? And a loss to UNLV could very well happen. And then another great late night game is, in terms of not necessarily either team's great, but could end up being a really good matchup, is this Wyoming at Arizona State. Wyoming looking to beat the Big 12 2 years in a row on opening day. So looking forward to those games as well. Like I said, from a conference level, from top to bottom, I couldn't think of a better conference to start off week 1. And in terms of scheduling, this is going to be a little intense, and going to start off with a lot of, we're either going to have more questions or more answers after this week. Be curious what you guys think prediction wise. I'll say Big 12 goes 13-3.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I got the lines pulled up. We'll guess a couple lines here in a minute. But Troy, I want to get your thoughts just on this opening slate. 16 games now, baby. We're adding more action to this great league.
Well, a good note is the Lindenwood, Kansas game. We get to see Kansas's home stadium for the year because they're not playing on campus. They'll be in Kansas City for the year, I believe. So,
are they playing at Arrowhead?
They have a couple games allocated to Arrowhead. I know that, like the bigger ones. I don't know if they're the whole time though, Troy.
No, they're at the whatever is Children's Mercy Park, the like where the soccer teams play.
It's the soccer stadium. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Kansas City, and I don't really hope to learn too much about Kansas City personally. But
they're playing all their conference games though at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So it's just they're playing Lindenwood at the soccer field and UNLV here in a couple weeks. So, but yeah, continue, Troy.
Well, if the field is kind of bad, then Lindenwood's used to the penitentiary fields. They might be able to jump up in there. But obviously, Penn State at West Virginia pops the eye, not just because you guys are big WV guys, but South Dakota State at Oklahoma State is pretty scary. South Dakota State's a hell of a football program, and we've seen Mike Gundy come out in the beginning of the year and maybe not have the guys running on all 8 cylinders. That could be trouble. Can you imagine T-Boone Pickens Stadium if South Dakota State beats them? Oh, my goodness. And it wouldn't even be – I don't even think it would be that big of an upset just based on how good the program is. But, man, that's a scary game for sure. It does puzzle me to see how well Wyoming will play. Peasley's not there anymore, is he?
No, but it's a good program. I mean,
they're a good program for sure, but someone's got to step into that role. I mean, Peasley was a gamer that just carried the whole squad on offense. Someone's got to have a little bit of grit to them if they're going to take that quarterback position and have any of the kind of success they saw last year, but very possible.
Troy, I'm going to go right back to the game for guess the lines in week 1. How much do you think Oklahoma State's laying? I'm going to give you a hint. This number's short as shit. When I saw this, I was like, oh, shit.
Like 2.5?
No, not that short.
Okay. Because I wouldn't be afraid. I wouldn't be opposed to them only winning by a field goal. I mean, if they win the game, I'm going to be happy. So, I don't know. What are they only giving them, like 8 points or something?
Bingo.
Wow.
Yeah, Oklahoma State's only an 8-point favorite against South Dakota State. That was one where I was like, whoa, okay. So Oklahoma State might be the team that we're scratching our head in week number 1. What do you think the Colorado-North Dakota State game is?
I mean, they're probably still giving Colorado points, but is it closer? Is it closer than South Dakota State and Oklahoma State?
It's 8. They're the same line. So yeah, those are the other one that was a little not really short, but I mean it kind of if you're a diehard college football fan like us, you know how good Wyoming is. What do you think Arizona State's laying against Wyoming?
2.5.
Maybe like 5.5.
It actually was 7, and I was kind of surprised. Yeah, but I mean, maybe the general public doesn't realize how good Wyoming is. They beat Texas Tech. We're going to talk about Wyoming here because they got a big home game. West Virginia, Penn State, we've already talked about that line. That line's still at 10. Rush, you mentioned it's a huge game for TCU. What do you think they're laying at Stanford Friday night? It's a Friday night game, by the way. Standalone game, and if you remember, the year they went to the national championship, they started their season on a Friday night in Boulder and made a statement in that game as well. So at Stanford on the road, what do you think they're laying at the Tree Huggers, the ACC Tree Huggers?
3.5.
10.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was a big number too. I was like,
I'm way off.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is why it's fascinating to play this game so early, just with how crazy sometimes college football lines can be as well. Looking real quick through.
What's the UNLV Houston line?
Yeah, that's a great line. What is that?
I don't think they have it. Oh, yeah, they do have it. This line's short. Guess how much Houston's laying? Only laying.
Like 4.5? Dang.
2.5? 3. Yeah.
Right on that 3.
Yeah.
Oof.
I think that's right. I think UNLV might win that game outright.
Yeah, they got the experience. Arizona's laying about 1,000 against New Mexico. They're like 30.5. Arizona's going to be very inflated this year with Noah Fafita, so they're going to be laying some big numbers. Any other games? I'm not seeing them on this sportsbook that I'm on right now, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're not like the NFL where they go weeks ahead. Other than maybe there is a couple in week 2, so I misspoke. But yeah, it's good for everybody to start thinking about some of these angles, and we'll talk about how the week 2 lines could be impacted off week 1. If you remember last year, we predicted, all 3 of us, that Wyoming was going to beat Texas Tech, and then we were going to hop on Texas Tech, and I know they didn't cover, but it was because it was a fumble 6 at the end. Texas Tech should have fucking beat Oregon outright in Lubbock, but we talked about that, how there's overreactions in week 1, and you can pounce on some value in week 2. But first, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Troy, I know you've been giving out winners on the NHL front. Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals and NHL Finals. Pick 8, Underdog will automatically double your flex entry, so you can miss up to 2. Troy, you got anything for the Stanley Cup final in game 3 now?
I haven't really looked at anything for the next game. I've just been rolling with Carter Verhaeghe and trying to pair it with one of the Oilers guys. Hasn't worked out well. The Oilers have 1 goal in 2 games, so things haven't been looking great.
Change the scenery. So simply pick higher or lower over at Underdog Fantasy, and you could stack winners on top of winners. They're giving away great value. For example, I think Kyrie was higher than half a point the other night. He barely got that with how shitty he played, but still, half a point, Pick 8, now available. Sign up today using the promo code listed as TCESGPN so you get that specific special offer, special pick for time deposit, offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. All right, let's go week 2 in the college football Big 12 slate. Moving over, and this, like last year, was the week of weeks. Rush, we're going to lead it off with a bang. Friday night, September the 6th, BYU's going to SMU, the first of 2 road games. Kansas, let's go to Saturday. Kansas, return game to Illinois. Remember, they embarrassed Illinois on that Friday night game. You got the traditional Cy-Hawk Bowl. That will be in Iowa City. That's on CBS for a change this year. Arkansas, an old Big 8 rivalry. Arkansas is playing at Oklahoma State and Boone Pickens. Another reason why you might want to take South Dakota State in week 1, knowing that Arkansas is on deck for Oklahoma State. Eat Shit Pitt is going to Cincinnati. Reminder, Cincinnati beat Pitt at Pitt last year. A return game. Kansas State lost to Tulane 2 years ago in Manhattan. Now they got to go down to New Orleans and return the game there. Baylor's going to Utah. That is not a Big 12 game. That is a return game from in Waco last year. Albany goes to West Virginia. Sam Houston goes to UCF. Colorado primetime 7:30 NBC game at Nebraska. Revenge from last year where Colorado drilled Nebraska. Matt Rule year number 2. Deion year number 2. An old Big 12 game. Houston is going to Oklahoma, our former foe. LIU at TCU. Northern Arizona at Arizona. And then Rush, man, they just keep on giving. These Saturday 10:30 games.
That's slate in all the land.
Fox, Texas Tech, the Mike Leach Bowl. Texas Tech in Pullman at Wazoo. And then Hail State at Arizona State. Rush, I mean, this week's fucking loaded.
It is actually 3 of the last 4 teams you named were Mike Leach teams.
Yes, true.
Yeah, this is the week where we find out the identity of the Big 12. I mean, you're more likely to name the games that you're not interested in, and it'd probably be 3 of them: Albany at West Virginia, Sam Houston at UCF, and Long Island, the Sharks at TCU, maybe Northern Arizona at Arizona, but it's interstate. So this is the what is the Big 12 week. And I know football season's long, we talk about it, but it comes to a point where you're only playing your conference, and we as the Big 12 love to beat up on each other. But now with the expanded playoffs and trying to get at least, we'll all have one Big 12 team in there, but trying to get that extra Big 12 team in there, this is when that time really counts. We'll probably look back at week 2 and been like, well, good thing we won that matchup. Or good thing a Big 12 team won that matchup. We're in, or hey, we're actually out because we didn't win that week 2 matchup. This is that identity week for the Big 12.
Troy, what do you think of this freaking loaded lineup? This is going to be a great week.
I think you can probably also throw Houston at Oklahoma into one of the throwaway games. I don't know if Houston's going to be able to compete that quickly with a new head coach and Oklahoma having their SEC hype and the chance to, they're an old Big 12 team. We can thump them into the ground. Ha ha ha. And it's not going to mean much if Oklahoma beats Houston by 40 fucking points. That's not really a big indicator. I don't know how glued eyes will be to that game after the first couple of possessions, but Arkansas at Oklahoma State is a different story. Kansas having to return to Illinois is a different story. I mean, first road game for Kansas and Iowa State going to pretty good programs. I mean, obviously Iowa State at Iowa is a very well-versed rivalry and whatnot, but I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois is upset after last year's matchup against Kansas. And we saw a bad Baylor team compete with Utah last year and probably should have won the game if they didn't fuck it all up at the end. So, whatever you think is going to happen when you think, I know you were talking about week 1 when you said 13-3 Rush, but whenever you think a Big 12 slate's going to get, 12 or 13 wins, I don't know about that. There's always a couple of eggs.
It won't be in the spread. It might be 3-13 in the spread.
If they go 13-3 in this slate, then they're going to cement themselves easily as the second best league maybe over the Big Ten. I mean, I know the Big Ten's top heavy, but they have 8 true road games in this slate, week number 2. That's the thing that pops the eye is, and you have hard locations to play. Pullman, Wazoo's going to be juiced up for that game. They think they should be a part of the Big 12. That's going to be a statement game for them. Houston going to Oklahoma. Troy's probably right, as much as I hate to say it. We'll all be rooting for Houston, except maybe Troy. But, they're probably going to get drilled. Colorado, man, Nebraska and Matt Rule are going to be ready for them in that matchup. K-State got to go to Tulane. I know Willie Fritz is not there anymore. He's a head coach at Houston, who we just talked about. But, it's the games, the toss-up games, I think, that are kind of in the early window is what I'm looking at. The Kansas, Illinois, the Iowa State, Iowas, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Pitt, Cincinnati. Those are and then BYU, SMU. Those are the games where the spread, I think, is going to be definitely under a touchdown, but maybe closer to that field goal number, where the Big 12's got to find a way to get on top of like 3 out of those 5 games if they're going to have a good week. Do you agree with that, Rush?
Yeah, absolutely. And personally, I'm excited for that BYU SMU game. What was that, the 1980 Holiday Bowl? And then they played in a bowl.
That'll be a good indicator for the whole week. Like if BYU can handle that game, it might bode well for the rest of the week 2 matchups in the Big 12.
Yeah, that might be the tone center. That's a really good point, Troy. But personally, for me, that's where my family went to school versus where my grandpa went to school. So little Bishop.
Oh yeah, there. Little family dust up.
Yeah, it tends to happen.
A lot of dark money between those 2 schools, BYU and SMU. There's a lot of missing allocations when they do the budget at the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our government's just as bad. They'll have 9 billion.
They still haven't found the fucking fighter jet that just went missing. It's just gone. See ya.
So, I mean, the other thing that kind of pops the eye too is going back to that SMU and Wazoo. Those are 2 schools that wanted to be in the Big 12. I mean, SMU wanted to be in the Big 12.
SMU won't admit it, but they want.
Yeah, they want to stick it to the Big 12 whenever they get a chance. So they get a Big 12 team coming to them. And then Arizona State, Dillingham, year number 2. Mississippi State is a program in transition as well.
Yeah.
Can Arizona State pick them off? Arizona beat Mississippi State last year. Or no, Mississippi State won in overtime against Arizona. Can Arizona State pick them off? But yeah, this is we'll call this judgment week. I mean, this is put up or shut up for the Big 12 in week number 2. All right. Week number 3. So let me paint a scenario real quick. What if Arizona State does beat Mississippi State? Then on Thursday night, they got to go to San Marcos and play the Bobcats of Texas State on the road on a Thursday night. Why are the Big 12 have more road games against these these mid-major 5 programs? Remember fucking Iowa State going to Ohio last year and getting
We're going to
off?
Ohio next year. We got a 2-for-1 with them.
Who signed that fucking deal? And then
probably a former AD. Another.
And then Texas Tech going to Wyoming. Did we win a road game against the non-power 5s last year? I don't think so. And buckle up, everybody. There's a couple for the Big 12 in this week. UNLV goes to Kansas, and this game might be the game of the year, and it's a non-conference game. Friday night, September the 13th. So Friday the 13th, Arizona and K-State are both going to be in the top 5. They're playing a non-con game. So this is the Big 12 in a nutshell. Friday the 13th night in Manhattan, the Little Apple, you got Arizona, K-State. Doesn't count for the standings. You may see them play again in Dallas, but they're going to buckle up here in Friday, September the 13th on Fox. Can't wait for that game. Here we go. Going to the mid-majors. Cincinnati, return game at Miami of Ohio. The Emory Jones game last year. Miami of Ohio beat Cincinnati. North Texas at Texas Tech. Oklahoma State, Troy. They got to go to Tulsa. I know they're going to have a lot of fans, but it's still a road game. West Virginia is going to play a home game at Pitt. That's not really a road game. So
no, that is a home game.
That's a neutral site game. Utah Utes fans, you guys are going to Logan this week. I don't know who put this on the schedule, but they're going to be juiced up at Utah State. Air Force at Baylor. And Saturday night, Colorado has got to return the game to Fort Collins to play Colorado State. Colorado State almost won at Colorado last year on game day. This is a primetime CBS game. You know, Fort Collins is going to be juiced. The Rams are going to want to stick it up the Buffs' ass and get their revenge. There is a conference game that week too. That's actually a conference game, UCF and TCU. Rice is going to play Houston. Remember, Rice beat Houston at Rice last year. And then Rush, I don't know if Sataki's trying to get fired or they're trying to fire Sataki. BYU played at SMU last week. They got to go to fucking Wyoming the next week? What?
Dude, that's an old whack rivalry right there, man. Yeah, that's Wyoming, they hate Mormons, man. They hate, like, they are like, there's a reason we keep going and run into, we stayed right here. Oh man, I love when those two teams play. I think most recently, what was it, last year BYU won, I want to say by something like that. But dude, that's always a good game when they get together.
And Rush, it's 9:00 Saturday night. So it's not the 10 o'clock slot, but it's 9:00 still.
Yeah.
CBS Sports Network, Laramie will be rocking.
The question there is, where are we going to be tucking in if we go up to that WU Pittsburgh game? Hopefully we're still celebrating, go tuck into some sports. May not even remember the game.
I'm already thinking of putting a parlay together to fade the Big 12. Let's say Colorado State on the money line against Colorado and Wyoming on the money line against BYU. Maybe we'll throw Utah State against Utah. That'll anger up the Utes fans. Troy, what's your thoughts on this week?
At least they didn't put the Backyard Brawl at noon where you guys would be out of commission for like 16 hours.
Yeah. I don't know why that's not a night game.
Probably should be. Obviously BYU going to fucking War Memorial and Laramie, you got to count, like, the craziest bullshit's going to happen up there on a Saturday night. And I'm not saying that BYU is going to lose the game, but that there's going to be some dumb fumble at the end that still gives Wyoming some hope. Oh man, it's always going to work out like that. But yeah, obviously West Virginia at Pitt, pretty big matchup. Still think I would kind of lean Miami of Ohio playing at home against Cincinnati. I
think I would too.
I don't think I'm
taking
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
This would be it would be a very, very worthless win for Kansas State to get Arizona here because it's considered non-con, and I feel like it would almost work out like that. Like Kansas State will get them now, and Arizona will get to replay them in the Big 12 championship or something like that.
Oh, that's exactly what's going to happen.
So we're gonna name this week Trap Week, and it's gonna be what the fuck were these ADs and coaches doing scheduling these games? The Big 12 has 6 road games at Group 5 teams this week. 6 in 1 week. The SEC and Big 10 probably don't have that combined for the whole year. They have 6 in 1 week. Arizona State at Texas, Cincinnati at Miami of Ohio, Oklahoma State at Tulsa, Utah at Utah State, Colorado at Colorado State, and BYU at Wyoming. What's our record? What's our record in those games? 3-3?
It might be 3-3. I'd actually put a money line bet on all the, unless they might catch on to that, but the underdogs in that, you'll at least win 3.
Yeah. I mean, Troy, how many do you think win? It might be 4. We might go 2-4 in these games.
Is this our 33-1 parlay again this year? Week
this is 3? The 33-1 week. It was week 3 last year. I've already.
Miami of Ohio. Put them on there. We already know where that's going.
Colorado State,
Texas
and Wyoming.
State.
You throw them
Texas
in there too.
State, Colorado State, and Miami of Ohio.
And Wyoming.
You definitely throw Wyoming in there just for the sake of home field advantage.
Shit, Wyoming might be favored, to be honest. Wyoming might be favored against BYU when they kick that off.
The good thing is BYU, I don't know Wyoming's the week before, but BYU is playing that Thursday night, so they will have the 10 days, the benefit BYU will have.
Indeed,
They went Arizona State right before this, right? Or is that the first week?
I think that was week 1.
That's week 1. Yeah. Yeah, we need to find out who Wyoming's playing week 2 because it's a sandwich spot with Arizona State and BYU week 1 and 3. So Wyoming week 2. Oh, take the Vandals. Let's go, Vandals.
Vandals in a sandwich spot.
Let's go. The final Big 12 non-con game is week 4. That's Arkansas State at Iowa State. That's all I got.
And then Florida plays UCF.
That's right. They do play.
Oh, what week is that?
It's like the 6th week of the year or something like that.
Florida's playing like all the Florida. Yeah, it's week 6, October 5th. UCF at Florida.
Yeah.
That's a great game.
UCF going to the Swamp.
Yeah.
Why is that with a quarterback that's played in the Swamp before too?
Why is it so late? Troy, do you have any idea why that's week 6?
It's let's look at UCF's schedule and see which one of the Big 12 schools they counted for them. Because that would be probably the tip-off.
Well, I think Florida scheduled all their non-con against other Florida schools. Like Florida State, UCF. So it may be in line with that. Who else are they playing? Florida actually has a really weird schedule this year.
Well, that's because they play TCU in that week 3 as a conference game.
Okay. Does TCU does not play SMU, correct? Yeah. Oh no. They play SMU the following week.
Yes.
Okay. So they got to return that game. That's week 4, and then UCF and Florida week 6. So those are 2 circle the calendar non-con games. I mean, TCU SMU is always a good game, especially with the Sonny Dykes connection. And then UCF's been waiting to get a shot in the Swamp, especially who knows where Florida's going to be at that point.
I was going to say it's not that far-fetched for UCF here. I mean, New Hampshire and Sam Houston, they could be 2-0, and then if they go on the road to TCU and can win that game, they get Colorado and then Florida. They could be 3-1 or 4-0 heading into Florida.
Malzahn's won in the Swamp. Malzahn's beaten Florida plenty, so let's go. War Eagle, go Shiny Knights. All right, let's power rank our top 5 games so that we're looking forward to the most. We can do the backwards to top order that we always do. So number 5, Rush, what do you got?
Number 5, I'm gonna maybe throw a couple people off here. I'm gonna do South Dakota State at OK State.
Ooh,
I'm also incorporating like potentials, like big time upsets and stuff where I think it could potentially happen.
Okay. Troy?
I think number 5 for me is going to be Colorado going on the road to Nebraska in the 2nd week. I feel like that game's got enough juice that maybe Deion could do something dumb.
I like that.
I mean, he's going to do something dumb. It just might also be funny, I guess.
Yeah. I had Penn State and West Virginia, big noon kickoff week 1 as my 5th game. I'm looking forward to the most. Just because I think the Mountaineers are live in that game. It's big noon. We're talking about needle moving wins. That would be a needle moving win for the Big 12 if the Mountaineers can knock Penn State off in Morgantown in front of the national audience. So give me Penn State, West Virginia at number 5 for me. Rush, how about number 4 for you?
Number 4, are we putting the conference / non-conference Big 12 aside? Or are we including those in our 5?
Can include that. I had that in my top 5.
Okay. Yeah. Because that would be up there. Number 4, I'm actually going to go Cy-Hawk, Iowa State, Iowa. It's always a great 10-7 game.
Yeah, it's a great game. I love that game. Troy, what do you got number 4?
I was thinking about going that Penn State West Virginia game, but just because you already picked it, we'll go with the Backyard Brawl, just a classic here at number 4. West Virginia going on the road to play a home game at Pitt. They don't have any fans. Eat shit Pitt. Always fun to watch the Pitt fans on Twitter get mad too, because it's not like there's no rationality to their anger. Like they're not that great of a football program, and they just get so mad because it's West Virginia. Would really like to see that again 2 years in a row.
Yes, it needs to happen. Number 4 for me, I got the Cy-Hawk as well. I'd like it. And mine are primarily rivalry games from here on to the top. So number 4, I can't wait for that game. I always got that one circled, and it's on CBS this year. So I don't remember it ever being on CBS. It's always been on ESPN. The Big Ten on CBS. Welcome to the new era of college football. Number 3, Rush.
This is where I have Penn State at West Virginia. Obviously not. It's kind of a rivalry. It's kind of not. I mean, Penn State's always owned us, but hey, they're going to Morgantown. They'll start off the season, big noon kickoff. if there's a time to beat Penn State, I feel like this is one of those times. So Penn State at West Virginia, big noon kickoff, number 3.
I like it. Troy?
This is where I have Arkansas going to Stillwater. I think that's just an interesting matchup. Throwback to two programs that used to play a little bit more than they do now. I think it'll be a challenging game for State. Arkansas, hit or miss program. I could really see, the early season woes for Oklahoma State having a big direct, issue with the outcome of this game. They'll probably keep Arkansas around, even if Arkansas is not playing great. So I think we got a classic finish there.
Yeah, that one just missed the top 5 for me. I really thought about that. One's at number 6.
I'm a little biased.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's an old Big 8 rivalry. Arkansas and Oklahoma State have history together. Number 3 for me was that Colorado-Nebraska game. It's a rematch of last year that had so much hype to it. That's a great rivalry, old Big 12 rivalry. And Lincoln, Nebraska, Saturday night, prime time, with prime time coming in on NBC. That game is going to have some serious fucking juice because Nebraska actually played well after that Colorado game. So Colorado, Nebraska at number 3 for me. Number 2, Rush.
Number 2. Sorry, it's the non-con conference game of Kansas State versus Arizona. I mean that game is, like I said, I now, because it's a non-conference game, think it's going to be a preview to the Big 12 championship, and the loser is going to benefit from that. So that game's going to be electric.
Troy?
Number 2 for me is UCF going to the Swamp. I think there's pretty big upset potential there. I think UCF will be able to tell by this point in the year, after the first 4 games, if they really have some momentum going down there. Like I said, I've been a little bit higher on UCF than a lot of people, but just can't get enough of Gus Malzahn. Love a nice slime ball.
Love it too. I actually went unbiased here. I went the Brawl at number 2. I thought about going number 1, but it is the 3rd year in a row that we've seen it. If it was last year had a different element with it being back in Morgantown for the first time. The year before that, just being the first time. It's always got juice. Eat shit, Pitt. I can't wait for the Brawl. I mean, I wish Pitt was in the Big 12 so we could beat their ass twice a year in basketball and once in football and every other sport. But yeah, the Brawl's at number 2 for me. Number 1, Rush, I think I know where you're going.
Eat shit, Pitt. Man, what a great game that was last year. Yep. Looking forward to it again. This time we got to beat them up in Pittsburgh. Looking forward to that. Nice home atmosphere for West Virginia. So it'll be a great game. Looking forward to that. And that is a biased take.
Troy?
I would go Cyhawk here just because, Iowa State, Iowa is almost always a great game, even if it's fucking 13-9. But it's also got to be the Arizona K-State game. That is national title implications possibly. So, that's the better of the 2 games. If we're going by tradition, you go Iowa State at Iowa, though.
Yeah, I'm with Troy. I had that game just because I saw like a mock whatever they call it, mock playoff format, and K-State was a 4 seed because the Big 12 gets an automatic bid into the top 4. And not that game counts for the Big 12 standings, but in my opinion, with where it falls, Friday, September the 13th, Fox game, the week before conference play, I think it sets the tone for the league. If K-State, let's say, drills Arizona, I think it's a message saying, hey, K-State, Avery Johnson are the team to beat, and Noah Fafita and Arizona go in there. And even if they don't win it, if they say like lose but by a field goal, they are 7.5-point underdogs. That line is out. So K-State's laying more than a touchdown. I think that's just a tone setter game. And like Troy said, it's a national championship implication. So
I think we're going to leave that game like everyone's going to feel like we need to see them play again.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we're going to need that again.
Yeah. And I'm glad this is where Yormark's trade. Great job putting them Friday night, 8:00 on Fox so that everybody could see, the world to see. That's a primetime slot for a reason. Those are 2 of your better marketable teams too, especially with Fafita and then Avery Johnson. So yeah, email, that place is going to be fucking jumping. And this podcast, the show, the Big 12 experience is going to be jumping as well every step of the way. We're back later in the week to break down trap games and toughest parts on every team's schedule.
Week 2.
Yeah. We only did the first 3 weeks today. We're gonna jump into hey, if we see a stretch where it's 3 out of 4 road games, and you look at another team where they're coming off a bye, great spot to fade them. Going to start circling some of those scheduling spots, scheduled losses, as we like to say, over at the Big 12 experience. Rush, anything before we get up on out of here?
4:15. Ryan and I will be live on the Ryan and Rush show, updating you all on some West Virginia news and happenings. And Celtics hopefully are 2 wins away from being champions. So we'll see you all over there. Again, everyone, thank you for your support. Appreciate it as always.
Yes, sir. Troy, go Nats. What else we got going on?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's too bad the Nats can't always play the Braves because we whoop their ass. That shit's so funny. The Braves can't beat the Nats. I saw one of the writers was bitching on Twitter. Like, I can't believe that we've lost 8 games to a team that bunts with their number 3 batter. Get fucked, baby. The only 2 times that we've had like a successful bunt with our number 3 guy that it's actually led to a run against the Braves. It's great.
You want an MLB lock tonight? The Braves at the Orioles. The Braves are going to whip the Orioles' ass.
Yeah, it'll make no sense.
Off for 48 hours after the Nats bent them over 6 times out of the last 8 in the last 2 weeks. They're ready for the Orioles tonight. I'm gonna lock up the Braves. But yeah, this is the Big 12 college experience. Like I said, back on Thursday to break down trap spots, tough scheduling spots, much more, and all 16 team previews coming up. Go check out the college football experience with Colby, breaking down all 134 teams, the FCS experience as well, breaking down all those leagues, and go check out the college basketball experience with myself. We're going to be we're going to start our summer coaches tour here tomorrow. So looking forward to that, getting some head coaches on throughout the country. And Noah Beanick is still doing the Lord's work over at the college baseball experience. Omaha down to 8 teams. That's all I got. He is at Troy Tuning. He's at Rambling Rush. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 college experience, and we are out of here.